So this gets us to, let's say an overview, a 10,000 foot view of what Nietzsche's overall political philosophy is. And I think we see this in his early thinking. I have a couple of essays on Nietzsche's early political philosophy, and we see this even in his later philosophy. So generally speaking, if we were to, as I said, to take a very rough sketch, we could say that beings as a whole, that the point of departure is a metaphysical one, an assertion of what is the nature of beings as a whole or being. And for Nietzsche, that is variously in the early works, nature as strife, and the later works, will to power. And then that manifests itself in political institutions. Nature wants these political institutions, these cultural institutions, to overcome itself. And the goal of these political institutions, and I'll point out they are hierarchical institutions, we'll come back to that. The goal of these institutions is the creation of a few highest individuals, artistic geniuses, philosophical geniuses, military geniuses. So that has implications for freedom. Rather than the freedom of modern liberalism, which is a freedom from constraint, Nietzsche's freedom will be different. So here, a quote from Twilight of the Idols, where he's critiquing modern notions of freedom. He says, today the individual still has to be made possible by being pruned. Possible here means whole. The reverse is what happens. The claim for independence, for free development, for laisser-aller, is pressed most hotly by the very people for whom no reins would be too strict. This is true in politics, this is true in art, but that is a symptom of decadence. Our modern conception of freedom is one more proof of the degeneration of the instincts. So true freedom for Nietzsche is a freedom for an achievement of one's end. And again, it's the organic metaphor of a plant. So a plant, this one of my favorite examples in my own experience has been years ago. I tried to grow these tomato plants, and at first, not knowing how to do these things, I didn't have a stake, so I just let these plants grow free from constraints, so to speak, and they just languished and died. They just, they spread around the ground there. They weren't able to grow and produce their fruit, their goal. So the true freedom of the tomato plant is to be staked and constrained, and as he said in the last quote, pruned to a certain extent. That enables it to grow towards its end. So this is freedom for, or freedom to achieve one's end. And here another quote from Twilight of the Idols. For what is freedom? That one has the will to assume responsibility for oneself, that one maintains the distance which separates us, that one becomes more indifferent to difficulties, hardships, privation, even to life itself, that one is prepared to sacrifice human beings for one's cause, not excluding oneself. Freedom means that the manly instincts which delight in war and victory dominate over other instincts, for example, over those of pleasure. So another, let's say, nuance to this is that within modern liberalism, the most fundamental goal is self-preservation. And our common goal then is the means to self-preservation. So for Nietzsche, the will to power is fundamental principle. It's the will to overcome. It's not a mere will to exist. It's just a will to life. No, it's a it's a it's a will to achieve these goals and overcome. So, as I mentioned, the goal of society and political institutions then is not merely the preservation of the many and the mere preservation of life or property. It's the conscious production of the genius. A great quote from Beyond Good and Evil here. A nation is a detour of nature to arrive at 6 or 7 great men. Yes, and then to get around them. So even then, once you've achieved those 6 or 7 great men, they're going to create certain value systems. They're going to impose their view on the world, but that can become stultifying and can prevent the creation of new geniuses. So nature needs to get around them as well. Another quote here from Schopenhauer as educator, an earlier essay of Nietzsche's on this notion of the need to uh, create the conditions for the production of the genius. We ought really to have no difficulty in seeing that when a species has arrived at its limits and is about to go over into a higher species, the goal of its evolution lies not in the mass of its exemplars and their well-being, but rather in those apparently scattered and chance existences which favorable conditions have here and there produced. And it ought to be just as easy to understand the demand that, because it can arrive at a conscious awareness of its goal, mankind ought to seek out and create the favorable conditions under which those great redemptive men can come into existence. So we see here almost an early evocation of the notion of the overman, that humanity is at the cusp of an evolution, and rather than just preserving the mass of humanity, what will it further that evolution are the rare types. Um, Now, nature normally just does this randomly. And again, this is very Darwinian. However, since mankind is that conscious species which can come to recognize the goal of nature, for Nietzsche, the humanity should create societies, political institutions that have as their goal the conscious production of the genius, rather than their kind of random production as it is now.